Welcome, Justin. Hey, welcome to Coffee with Dew.
I noticed you referred to it as coffee with dew and morning dew in your tweet.
Yeah, listen, the reason why I did that, and I was going to get into that, that's a Brent Schraff creation.
It is. It's not a terrible idea, but I'm in favor of sticking with what works. And I think we should call this show Coffee with Dew. I like it. I like it.
I love, well, I mean,
the morning
I'm drinking coffee.
By the
I'm
way,
drinking coffee.
I've been up for more than 3 hours. I've already had 3 cups of coffee, so I'm on water now. If this is at least the second time in a row that you've been the only one drinking coffee, which means we got to either do this show earlier. But here's what we
earlier. It's 8. Well, it's 8 for me. 9 for you is not that early for coffee.
Well, when you've already had 3 cups, it is. But
okay.
Here's the problem. Ellis Park is off the turf today. Horseshoe Indy is going to be off the turf because I just looked at the radar. There's a massive wall of thunderstorms and rain headed right for central Indiana. So right off the bat, that's 2 of the tracks that are unplayable. A number of tracks aren't racing today. Like, for instance, Gulfstream is dark today. Laurel is dark. Not that I would play there anyway. I didn't get a chance to look at Monmouth. You know what I want to see is last night, did my horse win at Fair Meadows? Because I couldn't watch or bet the race.
I couldn't watch it. I couldn't find it. I guess we could look at the chart.
Wait a minute, that's not even the right.
Something at Tulsa. Oh, by the way, I was talking to Rosemary Homeister Jr. Texting this morning, and she's a new listener.
That's incredible.
Or a watcher. Hall of Fame female jockey. She used to ride for us all the time. And I got her on board. Thanks, Rosie, for tuning in.
My horse at Fair Meadows Tulsa last night ran 3rd of 5 at 25-1, beating half a length for second. So it's a good thing I couldn't bet Fair Meadows Tulsa on any of my ADWs because that would have been a losing bet. But we got great value for whatever that's worth.
25-1. If you could throw it underneath, whoever was able to. Did anybody else outside of our text group know about that?
No,
that play.
I didn't post it.
All right. Well, I didn't know that track existed. Tulsa. Was that in Oklahoma? I'm assuming.
Fair Meadows Tulsa. I also did not know that it existed.
Okay.
So here's what I've got for today. I don't know. I know you've got some family.
Well, let me dive into something.
Okay.
I want to talk about the Hawthorne Invitational a little bit.
Let's do it.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
So it was a fun event as always. Hawthorne. I mean, how good is like John Walsh, Jim Miller, Emily? I mean, the whole crew. Everybody's so good. Stevie Walsh running around. Mike Somich was there helping out.
Yep.
It was a great event as always.
Mm-hmm.
Top notch. Food was good. Clean environment. Bathrooms were clean, believe it or not. Everything was good. My tournament, it's a unique contest. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to Tony Zhao on Emily's Hawthorne Spaces on Twitter. Okay, you missed that. So he went to his big, I called it a dissertation on Twitter. It was like like he was going for his PhD, the way he laid everything out.
Mm-hmm.
The approach in that, I couldn't put anything together early, and I was betting a lot of consistent plays, win bets with $10 tries.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really good conversation with Frank, and maybe he doesn't want me to say this, but he never bets a win bet.
Yeah,
he never bet. It's exactas and tries.
Yes.
And if I would have played more exactas and tried, I hit an exacta in the last race, just to get like $1,300 back, but none of my other stuff panned out. The big mistake for me personally was I had a runner that was a half brother to Mandaloon that was 13-1, that ran second to a Chad Brown runner that was coming off of a long layoff at 11-1. I did like the Chad Brown runner. I had it underneath in a trifecta. I would have hit the trifecta. I would have hit a win bet. I didn't do the exacta. It was 300 to 1. And I'm thinking to myself, if I did a $20 box, I got like $6,000.
Yep.
And I'm like, and then I had a conversation with Frank, and he's like, yeah, don't bet win bets. You're not going to hit them all, but do exactas.
He's been telling me that for about a year. It took about a year for that message to sink in. And I think he has been, much more complimentary of my wagering style recently. I still make the occasional win bet. But I will say that if I look at my biggest scores in the last few months, and I've had a good last few months.
Oh, you've had some great scores. Believe me, I see them all.
Exactas and trifectas have been it. So I think there's a line where, if you really like a 6-to-1 shot, put something to win on it. But if you're trying to make serious money, and to me, a serious score is like 4,000 and up, then you need to be focused on the exactas and the trifectas. And the frustrating thing, which Frank alluded to, is there are going to be days, there will be races where you like a 5 or 6-to-1 shot and it wins and you don't cash because you missed the shot at the exacta. But he's correctly pointed out to me that in the long run, you're going to hit enough exactas and trifectas to more than compensate for those win bets you miss out on. He's correct. And that's what I've been doing lately, and it's had pretty good results. I'm still not where I think he would like me to be yet, because Frank's a friend. He's he's a professional level handicapper. I think he's, you call him semi-pro because he has a career and owns his own business, but he's professional level handicapper, and he knows what he's talking about, and he wants us to do well.
Brent Schraff did great. Steve DeCaspers did great. They had a lot of good opinions. They hit some stuff. I forgot what was going on in the last race, what they bet with all the commotion, but it didn't work out for Stevie D. But I think Brent got some tour points. Stevie D got some Hawthorne credits, and
Brent Schraff is
second
on the first half leaderboard.
Right.
I'm not sure where he is on the overall leaderboard, but for now, the one that's more important, I think, is the first half leaderboard.
I'm confused on that leaderboard because it's the first half leaderboard, correct?
Yes.
However, he's, I think, 12th overall or somewhere around there, but he's second in the first half. Can you explain that to me or for all of our listeners?
The first half leaderboard only counts your top 4 scores and has a maximum participation points contribution of 750. I believe that's how it works. So someone ahead of him on the leaderboard could have already earned 7 or 8 scores, which will at the end count for their final tour ranking, because we know we can count 8 scores, but 7 of them, only 7 can be online. If you end up with 8. Hey, Emily's on.
Yeah, she wants to know where Hawthorne is. Yeah, Emily, I'll be there this weekend. We got 4 horses running. And I noticed you didn't pick any of our horses on Saturday to hit the board. You might be regretting that.
She might be. She also might crush the card. But to finish on Brent, on the issue with Brent, for the first half of the tour leaderboard, where they give away some cool prizes. I think there's a BCBC, maybe more than one BCBC. I'm not sure, but you can only count 4 scores, and Brent's 4 scores are his top 4 have him in second because he's got 3 that are over the 3,300. That 3,300 level, that key 3,300 points level, and then he's got 1 that he just earned at Hawthorne on for 1,900. So if he can get 1 more really good score, he's going to be in the lead, and that would be huge.
Well, I'm looking at, let's see, I'm going on the NTRA site, and I'm looking at the standings. I want to see how many points he got for that.
He got 1,900, I think.
Oh, you already know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he got 1,900. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that was a good showing. Brent did great. he made a listen, I was right there, and I don't know how he kept his composure, because I would have been pulling my hair out of my head. He made a $250 win bet on a 12-1 shot and canceled it. That one.
Canceled it as they were loading in the gate.
30 seconds. He probably wins the tournament.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's very possible he would have. I mean, he then followed it up with another $250 win bet that won at like 9-1. DeCasper suggested that, well, if Brent had hit that first bet, he may not have made the second bet. Brent says, yes, I would have. So
yeah.
Who knows what could have happened?
But yeah. that could mind F you.
Of course.
If you're not strong mentally. And Brent, like, he fought it off pretty well. A guy like me, I wouldn't have handled it very well.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how you would have handled it, but
the contest world can mess with you at a Hawthorne event. In fact, it was the Hawthorne Invitational 2 years ago. They had the $500 buy-in that day, and I remember, since Emily may remember this, I told her there was a horse at Churchill that I liked in a 1 mile dirt stakes race named Senor Buscador, who I bet went all in. I think it was 12-1 as they loaded into the gate. Wins the race. I'm thinking I'm at 6,500 on my bankroll and get a shoe in to win. And somehow the horse went off at like 6-1 or so. Anyway, maybe I have the numbers wrong, but it got hammered late. And that messed with me because I thought I was going to be at a certain point on the leaderboard. I was obviously much lower. And then from there, it was just kind of a shit show. I ended up finishing like 4th, I think, and they gave away 3 seats. And anyway, yeah. So you definitely have to have the right mindset and a short memory for contest play.
Well, in the Invitational, a good strategy a lot of people are talking about, there's 2 different ways of doing it, but one of them is you have a set 250 bet, play a little conservative, build up the bankroll, and make your big push into the mandatory last race, because that race, unlike the earlier races, you could bet your bankroll, whatever your bankroll is. You could bet the whole thing. You don't have to bet your minimum or the regular $500 wager in the last race. Like the $250 wagers, you could bet your whole bankroll in that last race. So I think the trick is, maybe for me next year, is to maybe play, if I really like the last race, play a little bit conservative, build up the bankroll, have some ammunition for that last race, and really shove in. I really couldn't do anything. I had $500. I tried some different things. I hit part of one thing, and I walked out of there. I limped out of there with like $1,300. And I'm thinking, man, if I would have just played that exacta with the Chad Brownie, maybe I could have done something and hit the board a little higher. But
don't forget the lesson learned from the 2019 Hawthorne, or as we're calling it now, Hawthorne Invitational.
Oh my God, did I spell that wrong? Hey,
that's why Emily was telling you to. She asked.
Oh, is that what? See, it went right over my head.
But at the 2019 Hawthorne,
right over my head.
Hawthorne Invitational, I was in the lead going into the last race. I've told this story 100 times. Everybody here has probably heard of it. Yeah, I mean, I bet more than 5,000 to win on Hidden Scroll in the Florida Derby. And then, of course, he ran up the track, and so it can work both ways. You gotta be smarter about things than I was that day. I didn't. The thing about that race is I didn't really particularly love Hidden Scroll. I mean, I thought he was the most likely winner. I thought it was the best way to get to 15,000, which is what I kind of thought you need to get to. The thing about the Hawthorne Invitational, that it's an interesting twist, and contests have their own formats, and this is the way they choose to do it. But everybody in the contest, unless they've been disqualified, is guaranteed to have an amount, and I forget what that amount. I don't know what that was this year. I didn't read the rules, so I wasn't there. But the year that in 2019, when I was leading going the last race, everybody was guaranteed to have at least $800 going into the last race. And if you have 40 competitors or whatever it was, I think it was around 40, somebody's going to hit something that pays 20-1, whether it's an exacta, a try, or whatever. So, if you're trying to win, which I was, and I had a bankroll of 5,000, you're like, okay, well, how do I try to get to that 15, 16,000 level? And I thought what made the most sense was to go all in on Hidden Scroll, who was around 2-1 at the time. And that would have gotten me to, 15,000 and change. And I just thought, that's the best move. I would not make that move again, ever. I don't think, it's also because if I had just sat chilly in that race and bet the minimum, I think I would have been second.
That's a popular move in the you would have been right up there. That's a popular move in the BCBC, I noticed. What they'll do is shove all in, shove all in. They don't even play the double. It's just favorite, I've been seeing.
Look, yeah, I mean,
30,000 to win on an even money shot. I don't know, whoever it is, one of those
yeah.
Applebee runners coming in from wherever, and then the Baffert favorite in the classic. Boom, boom, boom.
You want to talk about some plays for today?
So we're done with Hawthorne.
Yeah, Hawthorne. Okay. I wasn't even there.
I wish you would have told me about the typo earlier. I totally missed it, but hey, something to laugh at.
Hey, thanks,
Emily.
How many viewers do we have right now?
We got 84.
Oh wow.
You're a big hit, Justin. Believe me.
No. So with the off.
Wait a minute. How was the cruise? You don't want to talk about it?
I mean, it was all right. It was all right. It was just a weekend cruise getaway. I wish I had been at the Hawthorne Invitational rather than at the cruise.
Oh shit! Is Susie watching?
Yes, probably. But no. Truly, it was a good time. It was fun. I missed being there with my friends. If I had planned better, I could have been able to do both. But cruise,
okay, cruise was fine. All right,
it was fine. Yeah,
I didn't know if you were on that cruise that had the big fight in the
no.
cafeteria because they loaded. And where did you leave from? Tampa or somewhere?
No,
else?
we left from Cape Canaveral, which is near Orlando. That one, the video you sent
okay.
me.
All right, Tampa. Yeah. All right. Just wanted to make sure you weren't on that Carnival cruise.
No.
So anyway, listen, you sent me a text yesterday. We were all excited about the late double at Ellis. They got rained out.
Yeah.
So now what are we going to do?
Well, and Indiana Grand is supposed to get some rain today too, so I think they're going to be off the turf. So I've got I also yesterday handicapped Belmont at Aqueduct, and I got an opinion there. But I think my bigger play of the day is going to be at Woodbine in the 5th race, which is 6.5 furlongs on the main turf course. A maiden optional $40,000 claimer. It's one of those conditions where I think if you're an Ontario bred, you don't have to run for the tag. At least I've always assumed that's because the two that I see here. Oh, there is at least one Ontario, a few Ontario breds that are in for the tag. So I guess those horses are for sale. I haven't really dug into the conditions that closely because it's really not that important to me. The bottom line is it's maiden 6.5 on the turf. And I don't know if we're going to get the morning line on this. Frankly, I'd be a little bit surprised if we got the 12-1 morning line on number 2, Go Giffen, who is making the 6th start of her career, the 3rd start of her 3-year-old campaign. I watched the replays of all of these. And I'm pretty impressed by the effort she put in both of her starts this year. Both times were with an apprentice rider who's an accomplished apprentice rider and ends up on a different horse in here, another horse that I like, the 3. Flores picks up the mount on the 2.
Is that S1 Flores?
I assume it. Yes, I assume it is. I'm not 100% sure if it is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he used to be in Southern California.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's who it is. Sometimes some of these jockeys have similar names, and I don't dig into deeply to see if it's a brother or a cousin or just a guy with the same name. But if you watch the replays for number 2,
let's watch one. Which one?
Yeah, all right. But let's watch the let's watch the last start, and we'll direct our attention to. We'll watch the whole replay, but we'll really try to watch
2-hole.
It breaks the 2. Yeah. The camera work gets better as the race goes on, I promise. Here, it starts off kind of wobbly. Speaking of Ellis Park, we're gonna have to get used to, I think, some crazy camera action. But so we're in about mid-pack there, kind of down on the inside. The 10 in this replay, Saucy Name, who is second right now, is in today's race also. And you're going to see the 10 here.
Currently got a perfect trip.
Kind of the 10's getting a really good trip up close. And then the 2 is down along the inside. on the rail, kind of alone, not getting much interference. You kind of can watch both horses at the same time. You'll notice the 2 is going to, kind of make an impressive run here to the lead, whereas the 2 is going to fight. You're going to see the 2 fight. Goes down on the inside here. You don't see, younger horses do this a lot, and then kind of shifts lanes, goes in between horses again. Looks like currently sitting about 5th or 6th. They're second from the inside, now on the inside, and sort of flattens out a little bit, but maybe understandable, given how far back she was. And the 10 now is going to finish 3rd. I thought they both ran well in here, and I think they both are threats. And here the difference is the 10 in that replay, today's 3, Saucy Name, is 5-1 on the morning line, where the 2, Go Giffen, is 12-1. And then if you wanted to watch another replay for the 2, Go Giffen, you could watch the May 24th race, which was the 3-year-old debut, where she was 27-1.
7-hole.
EP Taylor.
Yeah, she's the 7 horse in here. And she's a little bit further back. Breaks okay, but then all of a sudden is, like spot in the field 4 or 5 lengths.
Yeah, what happened there? That was
yeah, just a good break, and ends up sort of trailing the field here.
Yeah, she did last, and kind of
and right here is kind of fighting the rider a little bit.
Yeah, jockey's up on his heels a little bit. And
yeah, I didn't watch the head on, but just a little bit of difficulty there. And oftentimes you'll see horses that have trouble like that sort of pack it in and not do much, and she ends up never threatening the winner, but sort of outgaming everybody else to finish 2nd, just showing some ability. So this was the 3-year-old debut, and then came back in the other replay we just watched. We watched them in reverse order, and again, wasn't able to gain the ground late.
Taking the overland route here.
Yeah.
And finishing up well.
Yeah, she really did. And again,
that looks pretty good. Did she now, without looking at the race, is there a little bit of pace to chase?
In today's race, I don't know how the pace is going to shape up. I think obviously the 3, Saucy Name, who was the 10 in the other replay we watched, is going to be forwardly placed.
The rail horse has been working well, and it's probably going to go from down there. You never know what those rail horse, those firsters in the rail are going to do, though.
No, you don't.
Yeah, the 3 stretched out last time and pressed. The 5, not really fast. The 6 is a firster. The 7 has an 84 early. 8's not really fast. The 9 is adding the hood. So, and it tried to set the pace last time. I would imagine they're going. 10's a firster. Okay. But these races at Woodbine they're different. The riding style, everything's different over there. Like everybody quickens late. It's not like California turf racing or Indiana, you know what I mean, where you can get a wire.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody kind of herds and then quickens. It's more Euro style is where I'm getting at.
Yeah, so this is the play for me in this race.
What are we doing?
So if we're going to get 12-1 or even 8-1, I'm going to make a win bet on number 2, Go Giffen. But I'm going to try to hit the exacta over the 3 and the 4. The 3, Saucy Name, who was a replay we watched. And the 4, Good News Money, has faced a number of these. It's hit the board a few times at the maiden special weight ranks, also making her 3rd start of the year. She's a 4-year-old. And, I think makes sense underneath.
So we're gonna key the 2, who's gonna be What do you think the 2 is going to go off at?
I feel like, honestly, I'm feeling like probably 7 or 8 to 1, which is going to be disappointing. But
Well, I mean,
I maybe we get 12 to 1. I mean, we get to see scratches. That's the thing about doing coffee with Deuce so early.
Yeah.
Is that we're pre-scratches and we don't really know what's going to.
And you're going to throw who underneath again for everything?
I just realized that the first post at Woodbine today is 4:50 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, I see that. They're gonna. You know why? They probably got fireworks. They want to run it as close.
But they're in Canada, and I don't. And last
time. Oh wait, you're right. They are in.
I don't think Canada celebrates America's Independence Day.
Maybe, yeah, you're right. Why are they? Well, I guess they don't care. Yeah, they're just.
Maybe that's normally when they start on a typical Thursday. I guess I keep Anyway, so two over the 3 and the 4 with a win bet on the 2.
2 over the 3 and the 4. Okay, so. All right, so yeah, we have a win bet. Let me just put the graphic up. All right, and then we're gonna go. Exacta and try.
Well, I don't know about try. I'm probably just gonna play win bet.
Well, I'm gonna do a try.
Okay.
That looks pretty good. We'll make some money on that.
All right. And then my next thought, again, pre-scratches, is at Belmont.
Okay.
Belmont at Aqueduct, pardon me.
Let me get that up. There we go. All right, what are we looking at here?
We're going to go to the 7th race, which is a 1 3/8 on the turf. It's an allowance non-winners of 1 other than. And we should be looking at a field of 7 betting interests. We've got 2 main track onlys. One of them is the second half of a Chad Klarovich entry. So we're going to be looking at 2 Chad entries in the main body of the field. You're
already driving me nuts with these Chads.
Yeah, I know. So here's where my opinion starts, and this is, this is not going to be a big bet for me because number 6, Catch a Wave, one of the 2 Chads, this one Flavian Pratt, ran in an allowance race. First of all, broke his maiden at first asking at Tampa. In a 9-horse field that did produce 1 other next out winner. Of course, that was in maiden claiming, so we're not talking a super key race here. But won at first asking, and then came back at Keeneland, was favored in an 11-horse field, and couldn't run down a horse named Isidoro, who was a long shot winner who wired the field. I remember that race. I don't remember who I bet that day, but I did bet the race. I think I bet Copper Missile in that field, who was bet. But the winner there kind of wired them. Went a little bit slow on the front, and Catch a Wave just couldn't run them down. And then for start number 3 for Catch a Wave, it was the same exact distance here at the same track, 1 3/8. Got clipped heels early, and the winner in there, Truly Quality, DeCaspers had this horse. The horse ran off and won by 6 under IRAD, and
wow, got a big number.
Had another next out winner in there named Good Medicine. The 3 horses from there come out of or run today. 3 horses out of that race: Hold the Salsa, Be Like Clint, and Catch a Wave. I just think Catch a Wave's last 2 were, I don't want to say with excuses, but you can kind of forgive them. I don't think we're going to be favored in here. I think the true one, Going Concern, is going to be favored, and we're going to get maybe 2 to 1, 9 to 5 on Catch a Wave, which isn't attractive. But then if we go on to race 8, That is the Grade 3 Victory Ride Stakes at 6.5 on the dirt for 3-year-old fillies. I think that number 3, Emery, is going to get her first graded stakes win. She was favored in the Grade 1 Frizette over this circuit last October and has 2 dominating wins in Kentucky this spring and summer under Tyler Gaffalione for Brad Cox. 6-5 on the morning line. I'm not exactly reaching here, but I think the 5 Autumn Evening is going to get some play for Rick Dutrow, and of course Mystic Lake for Safi, and Flavian Pratt is going to get bet. I think Emery is going to. So is the 4 Helena's Forte. He's also going to get play coming off that 6 furlong win at Churchill Downs under Isaiah 2. So the reality is, I just think Emery is better than these. I think you're going to get some pace in here. Emery's got the right style for that. Just sit back. I'm also a big sucker for horses that win impressively at 6 furlongs and at 7 furlongs, because what I think you see often, and I don't have the data to back this up, is horses are usually better at one or the other. And if you see a horse romp, even if it's against smallish fields like Emery's wins were, I think that's a sign of it. I think this Emery filly is really strong, and I like her to run a big race here. And
so are we looking at a big, what is that, a 63 double?
A 6-3 double. And if you want to get, so if I'm planning on betting $100 on the end of the Belmont at the Big A card, I'm probably going to do a cold $50 double and raise 6 with 3. And then if you want to divide some of that up and play a pick 3 into the 9th race, which is a state-bred maiden 40 at 1.16 on the turf. We should get a pretty big field here, which means go ahead.
No, I hit the wrong race. There we go.
Yeah, I think there are 2 in here that make the most sense, and if you wanted to spread, there are some others. This 5 Tongue Twister, off since April, comes out of sprints. I think is probably going to be forwardly placed. Off since April, but I think we've got a pretty steady work pattern. We have, went back to training on May 18th and didn't miss a work since then. So, I don't know what the story there is, why they didn't run her back, but I think she's going to be on the lead.
Oh yeah. You're dropping, you're stretching out. Trainer's having a really good little meet here. So,
and then I also think you want to respect IRAD on the 1 Bossy Jeans. Look, this is not normally how I bet. I'm going with, a 2-1 second choice over a 6-5 with a 6-5 favorite, and then in the third leg,
you up your bet
5-2 and 9-2. But I think the 8, who is first time turf, got bet a little bit on debut, and then the 10 for David Donk is also one that is probably going to run better than the odds would indicate. But I think for me, 1 and 5, I think one of those probably wins. So you could be doing a 1x1x2 pick 3, and if we get a little bit lucky and the 6 maybe isn't favored, catch a wave in that allowance race. And I absolutely think Emery is going to decimate this field in the Grade 3. And then maybe we connect with the 5 in the third leg, but protect with the 1. Then that's an interesting pick 3 that you might be able to take a few bucks, and it should pay a little bit. Certainly better than betting them to win.
I like this runner. I think it's definitely going to have the front. and it's going to improve a lot. 9-2. I would love to get $11.
And I can't imagine we'll actually get 9-2 on this one, given it's clearly got to be the lone speed, right? I mean, I don't know who else.
It's going to have every opportunity to get the front here. It's just,
yeah.
We'll see how fresh it is. We haven't seen it in a few months, but that's fine. Let me see. I'd like you're a Curlin broodmare. Let's take a look at some siblings. Ironically, this one never tried turf. There you are. Another one that didn't try turf. So that's interesting. The broodmare unraced. But
yeah, I mean, and if the 11 draws into the field, the post is not optimal. And this one's had a number of chances to break through. The 11 did run twice down at Gulfstream. At least one of them was during the quote championship meet unquote against Open maiden special weight, not state price. Came back up to New York. I didn't watch the replay for the race 2 back. The running lines don't show much trouble, and then last race, it just seems like kind of a flat effort.
Yeah, it needs class relief.
Yeah, so the 11 is one that could kind of upset the apple cart here, I guess. But I feel pretty good if I'm going into this race alive in the pick 3 to the 1 and the 5. I'm not very creative, but just because I don't think Emery can lose in the victory ride, and I think the 6 is the better of the 2 Chads. And the first leg, it's let's see if we can make a couple bucks. But for me, the play of the day is going to be the race I mentioned at Woodbine, and we're really going to hope there in race 5 that we get a good price on number 2, Go Giffen.
So 6, 3, 5, pick 3.
For me, it's 6 with 3 with 1 5.
Cold. Let me tell you what. I'm gonna bet like I don't know $100 pick 3.
Are you playing it cold?
Yeah, straight. Boom. I mean, they all look so logical. The other 2 are going to be really tough. The other 2 plays. We get out of that first leg. I feel really good about the second leg, and I think we could walk the dog out there. What you're the 5 here in the last leg, so I like it. Emily said Woodbine. Oh, you know what I did? I had a typo that I had to fix, and she said Thursday is always night racing at Woodbine.
And I did. Honestly, it doesn't feel like I forgot it was Thursday. That's my only excuse there. It's a holiday, and I just wasn't. I'm not in the Thursday mindset.
Yeah, I want to mention that it's race 5, not race 6. Again, maybe I should have a cup of coffee before I come on with Coffee with Dew, and then have my second cup during the show. That way, I'm fresh.
Can I let me direct everyone's attention, if I may, to a bonus play.
A bonus play. Okay.
Let's go to Canterbury Park's second race.
Oh man, I love Canterbury. They should bring the Claiming Crown back there.
Are we on race 2 at Canterbury?
Race 2. We're going a mile. Optional claiming 20. Now winners of 2.
And we go down to horse number 3. This is a.
I thought you weren't going to talk about this horse ever again.
Yeah, the
last race. Listen, what is this a horse for course? Because at Turf Paradise, almost unbeatable there. Just missed last time. The other 2 races. Well, last time I think we had some trouble. We didn't really like the race flow. But tell us about Arrest. First of all, I used to own this horse for all of our
Dylan Donnelly. If you expand your past performances to show its entire career, Dylan and I claimed this horse in September of 2022.
There it is
For $16,000. We were the first ones to get this horse routing on turf, which is what it wants to do. We knew it all along because this one is a full sibling to a horse named Rosa Star.
Oh yeah.
Who,
Rosa.
by the way, just to be clear, Rosa Star in her career won 2 races from 61 starts, but she hit the board 33 times.
She beat Lady J in a race at Gulfstream.
Yeah. She loved to hit the board routing on turf. She didn't love to win routing on turf. And you could argue Arrest might suffer from the same affliction. But Dylan and I ran this horse on the turf 5 times in 6 months, 2 seconds, 2/3, and a 5th. He was claimed from us. We claimed him for 16. He was claimed for 25. I ended up losing $600 on Arrest.
Okay, not too bad.
Because training fees and the jockey and trainer get their cut of the purse money and blah blah blah.
California taxes.
Yeah. So I remember.
Actually, no, there is no California tax when you have a co-owner.
Well, no, there is. Well, but I wasn't a listed owner. So when we bought the horse, I wrote Dylan a check for $8,600, and I didn't send him any money in the meantime. And when we sold the horse, he sent me back a check for $8,000. So we ended up. I ended up losing a few bucks, but it was fine because I had a lot of fun owning him. But anyway, for some reason, when he was claimed from us, he went on a series of sprints, synthetic races, from his new owners, who then shipped him. Didn't run him on the turf again until they shipped him to Turf Paradise on March the 20th, where he won 2 times routing on the turf. And then they dropped him in for 12. I'm guessing they thought, the Turf Paradise meet was ending and they didn't want to take him back to California, is what I'm imagining, as they thought he wasn't good enough, a belief with which I disagree. And he ran his lifetime top buyer of 80. New connections brought him to Canterbury, where he really did absolutely no running at all in the June 13th race. So for me, it comes down to this. Was that just a matter of him not liking the turf course, his new surroundings, his new barn? Who the hell knows? But if he gets back to his Arizona form, I think he could be a factor in here. I don't know that I'd say he's the most likely winner, but we're only going to have, there are 4 also eligibles in here that are they're main track onlys. We're going to have a small field. And Arrest has the ability to be much more forwardly placed than he was in his most recent couple of starts. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen here. We're drawn inside the other faster horses, but I think if they want to get on the lead here, they can. And if that happens, you're always dangerous. So I'm going to watch the race with interest. I don't think I'm going to be betting much of my hard-earned money in here, but just for old time's sake, I'm going to play Arrest in hopes that he'll be forwardly placed and,
So this is the same condition, correct?
Yes, it is.
Why does this race look easier than the last race?
Well, I'm not sure it does. I thought Arrest was.
Well, I remember Niles Channel, a horse we used to own, was in that race last time, ran a clunker as well, and he was coming in on like a 5-race winning streak with the new owners.
Yeah,
and then there was a couple other ones, and then the favorite is gone. Let me look, and that gold. Yeah, this horse was pretty good, and he's gone. So there's no Golden Bandit in here. This horse is big, won a stake race.
Yeah, but there are
got an 89 Beyer speed figure in that race.
Yeah, if Beyer speed figures are your thing.
Well, it won a stake too, though. Golden Bandit, stakes winner. Right? Angel's Magic doesn't run here. Ran second.
Yeah.
Right.
Bottom line is, I would not be wagering heavily on Arrest here, but it might be if we're getting 5-1 or whatever it is.
It's rooting interest.
What was that?
Rooting interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure if we're going to be sloppy and off the turf at Ellis. I know we're off the turf I don't think they've got there was a 5.5 furlong turf sprint stakes race on there that is now going to be on the dirt. There's probably some opportunity there. Scratches to come, I'm sure. That's about it, man. I didn't see much else that I was interested in today. Kind of.
Well, it's 4th of July, just hanging out. I'm going to be going by some family. My brother bought a bunch of fireworks, and then he likes that kind of thing. We're going to light those off and hang out, barbecue, and play some bocce ball or whatever the hell we're going to do.
How many viewers how many people are still hanging around us here?
How many what? Viewers?
How many viewers we got?
We got 150.
Wow, that's incredible. Live viewers? They're viewing live?
They're watching you, Justin. A lot of pressure on you today, baby.
Yeah, well, I hope at Woodbine's 5th, number 2, Go Giffen isn't going to disappoint people, and I hope we get a bit of a price because I think she's going to come running late, and I think as long as she doesn't end up a little bit too far off the pace, like I think she was last time, because they went pretty quick last time, They went pretty quick.
So just to recap, we have Go Giffen. We're going to do a win bet, and
we're doing exactly over the 3 and the 4 because that 3
and the 4.
The three's also getting a break in the weights because gets the same apprentice that my horse had in the last start. Now ends up on the 3 Saucy Name. So I think that 3 is going to be winging it early, and did go pretty fast last time. And I'm not saying will be easy to run down, but I think if that 2 can be a little closer, might have the late kick to run down the 3. And I think Kazushi Kimura on the 4 also is worth including underneath. Although, boy, that barn sure is cold for that 4.
And at Belmont, we love that double and that pick 3. And you have a couple other ones underneath on that pick 3 that you talked about. I'm going to do it cold 6-3-5.
Yeah, I'm doing 6 with 3 with 1-5, and hoping we're not on. Look, there's a very real chance that we'll have the 3 favorites there. I'm hoping that we get a little bit of extra value on that 6 to start off because they play the other Chad.
I like that 5 a lot in that last leg. I really do. I think you're going to get out there and just kind of like relax on the front end and, ask at the 3/8, and hopefully we'll have enough punch to get home. I really believe that one's going to do well. The stakes, Philly, you talked about, the 3 there looks really formidable. And if we can get through that first leg, I feel pretty good about it. And don't forget about Arrest at Canterbury. When's that going off? Let's see.
That's like 2:40. I think 2:40 Eastern, isn't it?
Oh, that's an early one. Yeah, 1:40 my time Central. So, and for Dylan out there in California, if he's even up right now,
hey,
that'll be at 11:40.
We could turn. Ed DeRosa and I used to have. He had an ESPN radio show in Louisville, ESPN Louisville. He may still have it. I don't know, but I don't think he does. But he had me on a couple times to talk horses and politics. Since we
you want to talk about the debate?
That's what I was going to say. What do you mean?
I'll tell you what. Democrats have to do something, right? And to me, I'll tell you what I found interesting. It wasn't even the debate. I knew there were some cognitive issues with Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting that the media came out of nowhere and said, "Oh my God, there's something wrong with Joe Biden," and they all came together. It was almost like they got a memo or a group email,
obviously,
to, hey, let's coordinate something here. Let's start to let's throw that narrative out there and be negative on Joe and see if we can get him out of there. Because I think they really want Michelle Obama or the guy, Newsom.
Yeah, I think almost anyone who's objective would agree that the media got their marching orders to call attention to Joe Biden's cognitive decline. I am of the opinion that everything is coordinated. Nothing is by accident. Nothing is organic. It's all done on purpose. What they're going for here, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of over trying to guess on things. The only opinion, the strongest opinion I have about the upcoming election is that Donald Trump will not serve as president again. And the reason I believe that is because I believe the globalist forces that are seeking to change not just America, but the way the whole world operates. They're extremely powerful. They're much more powerful than people realize. And Donald Trump represents a threat to that. Everything that's been happening in the world, open borders, not just in the United States, but throughout Europe, it's all being done by very powerful people. It's being orchestrated by powerful people that believe they have an interest in changing the way the world functions, whether it's because of the improvement of technology, quantum computers, artificial intelligence, whatever the motivation is. The way the world has operated, the concept of nationalism is a threat to the globalists. And the globalists have teamed up here in America with the Democrat Party, the leftists, and that's the way it is around the world, whether it's Canada with Justin Trudeau, whether it's in France with Macron, whether it's in Germany with Angela Merkel or whoever the hell's in charge there now. But the globalists have teamed up with leftists. And that's where the Democrat Party is right now. The media is on their side too. Now, a lot of the media, people see people like Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid and all those other talking heads. Those people are entertainers. They are entertaining an audience, and their audience is liberals. And liberals like to hear what they want to hear. Conservatives too, for some, to some degree, but I think it's worse with liberals. And this is all orchestrated for some. Now, there are a number of ways I think you could look at it. One, is it possible that the left knows that Trump is going to win, and they want his victory to be seen as a rejection of Joe Biden, a man with dementia, rather than a rejection of liberal principles and woke politics? Maybe that's what it is. Or maybe they really do intend to do everything they can to keep power, and they want to substitute someone who can actually beat Trump. Maybe, I believe the 2020 election was stolen fair and square. Okay, I believe that they changed laws, they changed voting practices, they allowed mail-in ballots, and that's how Joe Biden got so many millions of more votes than Barack Obama, which everybody who's got any degree of common sense would know there was no way Joe Biden on his own would get more votes than 7 million more votes than Barack Obama.
It was more than 7 million. It was like 13 million.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, it was pretty significant.
There's just no way that would happen organically.
Right.
Because I think the left stole that election.
Yeah, COVID opened that door. The harvested ballots definitely. Yeah, that's not going to be around this time.
Well, but who knows what's going to happen? I believe,
unless you get some October surprise that we don't know about.
Very powerful forces want America to go through a fundamental change. Barack Obama said that repeatedly throughout, before and during his presidency, that America was going to be changed fundamentally. Having open borders and millions of people pour into this country from Central America, that's all part of the plan.
China.
What it's going to look like, I don't entirely know. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I think I have a pretty good vision of what's happening. And I think Donald Trump is, whether you like him or not, and I don't particularly like Donald Trump, if I'm being completely honest, but I like America, and I want my 2 daughters to grow up in an America that bears some resemblance to the America that my parents and I grew up in. And look at what's happening in places like Sweden and other places in Europe where they're simply tired of what kind of transition they've been forced to go through. I saw a video today of what downtown Paris looks like now.
Oh boy,
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Look at San Francisco, LA. I mean, it's there's a reason people are leaving California in droves, and it's because I think most Americans would never vote for the kind of things that had been implemented in some parts of America. And I think Donald Trump is the only one who's willing to stand up not just to the left, but to his own party. who's partially in on it. Honestly, I mean, I have no patience for a lot of these Republicans.
Oh God, a lot of these Republicans are just garbage.
It's not about Republican versus Democrat anymore.
Right.
It hasn't been that way for years. It's about globalism and dismantling what America is in favor of something that the elite can benefit from. And I think we're headed to a time where you've got the ruling class, the elite class, the political class right here, and everyone below that class is going to be essentially forced to live an equally mediocre life. And the question is, where is that line drawn? Are you able to live above that line or below that line? And you want to get to above that line. And I don't mind sharing that recently my wife and I sold our house, and we took the proceeds. We had 28 years left on the mortgage for that house. We sold that house, and from the proceeds of that house, paid cash for a house that is frankly just as nice as the last house. The last house was on a lake, so it was worth a lot of money. This house isn't, so we were able to pay cash for this perfectly nice house. Now we have no mortgage, and we did that partly because I think the world is going to go through a change. And you may not want to have a mortgage if you can avoid having a mortgage in the future. And we're kind of working to position ourselves to, hopefully not have to be subject to what you might call, I don't think we're going to descend into communism here in America. It will never be called that. But, we want to be able to buy our own health insurance and not have to worry about paying our mortgage. And
did the recent election in France give you any hope? Are people waking up over there?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, if we are, we have the guy in Argentina who was elected within the last 6 or 9 months, whatever it was. He's kind of he's nationalist. I mean, Donald Trump gave a speech, I think it was in Poland when he was president, where he encouraged the people of all countries to be nationalistic. He's like, you should elect people that will do what is in your country's best interest.
Yes. Poland has a very good immigration policy.
Well,
they don't tolerate.
Much of Eastern Europe does.
Right.
And, it's
Japan as well.
Yeah. I mean, we should, like in America, in my opinion, we should not be opening the border for people who are broke and illiterate in their own language. Never mind English.
Criminals.
Well, I mean, just they're letting people in here in droves on purpose to change the way America operates. Like, let's just, if I were to go to France right now and say, you know what, I like it here, I'm going to stay, and I want you to give me money and free healthcare. France would tell me to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And so why are we operating this way? I mean,
it's amazing.
And again, I'm getting a little bit. I don't know how many viewers we've lost in the last 10 minutes.
No, we've gained viewers.
This is my question is, and this is why one of the bigger problems I have with liberalism and the left. It's, John F. Kennedy, when he was inaugurated, gave maybe the most famous political speech of all time, when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." The American left has moved so many steps beyond that.
What has happened? Listen, what has happened to the Democrat Party?
I'll tell you what happened.
They're unrecognizable today, even 20 years ago.
What happened is
I don't understand what's going on.
They got in bed with the globalists, and so did Republicans too, but way worse for the liberals. They got in bed with the globalists, who have the American middle class is standing in the way of globalism, because if you have to provide for the middle class by making sure they can get jobs and pay for their family, it's cheaper just to say, you know what, don't work, just watch Netflix. We'll give you universal basic income. We'll make sure you can go see a doctor eventually if you need to. We're tired of worrying about the American middle class, so we're going to send jobs overseas and open the borders, because it's just, they can make more. The globalists can make more money that way. And when the Democrat Party finally abandoned the middle class and the labor unions and the hard workers in favor of um,
Social
appealing,
stuff.
appealing to, yes, bitter, resentful white people, which is now their target audience.
Specifically people that look like me and you.
What the Democrat Party
The white male. I mean,
panders. Well, but it's, yeah. I mean, if you look at the difference in voting demographics in the 2020 election, do you know what voting demographic flipped it from? In other words, voted for Trump in 2016, but voted for Biden in 2020. It was white males. The biggest shift in the 2020 election versus 2016 was white males. Donald Trump got more of the vote for every other demographic in 2020 compared to 2016, except for white males. And it's because of Hillary Clinton. The white males didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016, probably because they, didn't want to vote for a woman, but they did vote for Joe Biden in 2020. Look it up; it's documented.
There's a lot of remorse, buyer's remorse on that. I don't know if you've seen the new polling, and I know you can't look at polls, but they were kind of on last time. They had Trump losing, but within the margin, which was good for polling for conservatives. But right now, for a Republican nominee to be easily ahead in these polls is kind of telling. He's up to 22%. Well, if you believe him, he's up to 22% with the African American community.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe it? Okay. From 8% to 22 is what I'm hearing.
If that happens, I will.
What if okay, say it's 14%. That's still 50% raise from.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's part of it, is because the Democrat Party hasn't had to do much to help minorities because they believe that they have the minority vote in their pocket. So why would they do anything? So the policies that, I mean, you have 60 years or whatever of consistent liberal policies haven't done much to help inner city African Americans. They've done things to damage, the white working class in the Rust Belt. Those policies have not helped, and in many cases, they have actually hurt. So rather than try to improve, that's where I think all this talk about white privilege and playing the race card comes in. It's because the Democrat Party realizes that its policies have done nothing to help the people that have been electing them.
Well, it's to stir a bunch of nonsense and get people riled up too.
Yeah, but it's also to keep the base voting, and they've replaced it with, resentful, bitter, resentful white people that, that are just mad at the way. I mean, 15 years of exposure to social media, it'll do a lot to a person that is, feels that they're not. I saw someone make a really good point recently that anybody living in America today has a better quality of life than 99.9% of the human beings that have lived on planet Earth through the history of Earth, okay, in world history. That even the lower class in this country, let's just say the bottom 5%, is living better than almost anyone in human history. What comes into play is they see on social media that a lot of people have great lives. They live in nice houses. They have a lot of cool toys, whatever. They're more than making ends meet. And if you're just barely making ends meet because you can't find a job because your job has been shipped overseas over the last 20 years, you're going to be resentful. And who are you going to be resentful at? The people that have nice things and good lives. And it's just an unhealthy way to live, I think. And look, we're going to see what's going to happen. I think the next 6 months, really the next 5 years, are going to be very dramatic in this country. Are we going to see something like a civil war? I don't think so. But are we going to see a massive change? I mean, is everybody here going to be declared a legal U.S. citizen and given the right to vote?
I think you're going to see a lot of, if things don't change for the better, I think you're going to see a lot of segregation. And I'm not talking about race segregation. I'm talking about political segregation. Like, you're going to have your conservative people living over here, and you're going to have your liberal people staying in the big cities. I think you're just, see people that are going to be hanging around their like-minded people. And
Yeah,
honestly, you know, me for one, I'm glad June is over. Um, you know, the pride stuff that, listen, they talk about it. Oh, it's love. It's this and that. Some of the things that I've seen on X, on Twitter, with children present is downright disgusting.
well,
And you're talking, I'm Justin, I'm talking about oral sex. I saw some dude giving oral sex to another dude in a bathtub on the street with kids walking by
yeah, I
during this pride thing.
yeah,
They're walking around with no underwear on down the street. And mothers, I don't know if they're single mothers or what. Well, sometimes you see dudes standing there too, but they got their little boy and their little girl sitting there watching a guy walk by with his dink hanging out.
yeah,
And to me, there's something wrong there. Forget the drag queen school book hour. I mean, that's a whole nother animal on itself. These parades are heinous. I'm sorry. I mean, I've seen it. You've seen it. I mean, on Twitter.
yeah, I don't know. The first answer, the first explanation that pops into my head for why we've seen this, and you know, is that the goal is just to dismantle any institution, any foundation this country has for the, because there are two things that stand in the way of of globalism as I describe it, as I see it, describe it to myself. And those things are kind of the individual right and the family. The individual and the family, they're two different things, but they're very similar. And I think that if you can sort of dismantle the concept of family, then you're one step closer to achieving, globalism and just creating chaos and making home life as complicated and as stressful for as many people as you can. I mean, the number of people who identify as something other than their biological sex now is just through the roof. It's not through the roof, but it's compared to what it was in past years.
Well, it used to be like 1%. Now I hear it's as high as 15% or some crap.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen polls that say,
or maybe there's a lot of kids are getting confused, and that's the one thing that I want to see if Trump gets elected. Which I know you're a little bit more pessimistic about it. I happen to think he's going to get elected.
well,
I want to defund the Department of Education, and I want to let the states decide on how our education should be run. If California wants to run their educational system a different way than Arkansas or Wisconsin does, or Florida, then fine. You know what I mean? New York, you want to do drag queen storybook hour? Go ahead. I'm going to live over here in Wisconsin or Florida or Arkansas where we don't want that.
yeah, one issue that I have disagreed with Republicans on, specifically the governor of my state, Ron DeSantis, who I have a lot of respect for, is this issue of the government getting involved to prevent.
Good morning, Marco.
Is that who that is?
Yeah, that means good morning.
the government getting involved to ban sex change procedures for people under the age of 18, or giving like hormone therapy or any of that stuff. So here's my take on that. We don't want the government, whether it's state or federal, interfering in decisions of that nature. Now, as opposed to abortion, where the consequence is death, an unborn child dies, then I understand government intervention. In the case of sex change, whatever transitions, or whatever the term is for a 14-year-old boy transitioning to become a female, no one's talking about dying there. The negative consequence that law would seek to prevent is that 14-year-old becomes a 25-year-old who resents the fact that his junk was cut off and that he was given hormone therapy and now he's some kind of mix between male and female, whatever. Well, at that point, the government should just say, and society should just say, look, sorry you had two parents who did this to you. sorry you were only 14 when you consented to it, but we aren't in the business of getting involved in people's decisions like this unless we're talking about an unborn child that cannot speak for itself being killed. In that case, it's a different discussion about government involvement. So most Republicans that I know are absolutely in favor of laws that prevent two parents or one parent from allowing their 14-year-old to have a sex change operation. I don't think
it's mind-boggling and disgusting.
well,
I cannot believe that in 2024 we're having this conversation.
I can't believe
It's
it.
just
Did you ever think we'd have a discussion about biological males competing in women's sports?
unbelievable.
I mean, like, again,
Unbelievable.
if somebody wants to live their life as a sex different than what they were born as, okay, knock yourself out. But being allowed to compete in women's sports,
It's nuts.
it's
It's nuts.
And then, like, you have this lunatic Keith Olbermann.
Oh, he's crazy.
Toe to toe with that Riley Gaines girl from UK, and insulting her and calling her a bigot or whatever he called her because she's against it, and like saying you're not even that good of a swimmer is what Keith Olbermann said. It's like, you're a moron.
Dude, like, he's a weird guy, man.
But here's the thing. There's an audience for people like him. That's the thing. He's not doing it because it's natural. He might believe everything he says. Keith Olbermann says the things he says because there's an audience, and his audience wants to hear that kind of craziness. So the more interesting story to me has always been, why is there an audience for this? Like, I'll give you another example. Was it Kamala Harris or somebody who just came out in the last 2 days and said, if Donald Trump wins, he's going to use the criminal justice system to go after his opponents. And I'm like,
that's what happened to him.
Have you been watching what's been going on? I mean, he's facing numerous criminal indictments for things that like would never be brought on a normal person,
right?
Like, ever. It's
they raided his house in Mar-a-Lago
with guns drawn. They impeached him when he was.
What is she talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's just. But this is the thing. What does the fact that Kamala Harris would say that with a straight face, what does that say about how Democrats view their own voters and their own cheering section? It shows they have no respect for them. They know that those people will vote for them no matter what they do,
right?
No matter what they say. They can say whatever they want and get away with it because there's no accountability, because it's not about logic and reasoning and policy. It's about emotion. Democrats vote on emotion. And there are a number of emotions. And one of them is resentment and envy. And they capitalize on that. And, we're going to see. That's why I think the next 6 months are going to be so critical in our country's history. We're going to see if people say, all right, enough.
Do you ever watch Valuetainment, Patrick Bet David?
No.
Really good content. He had a good, by the way, we have 200 people watching. He's got a great webcast, Valuetainment. I suggest that you like, subscribe, and follow that along with this channel here. But he was talking about the forcing change. We've been talking about it. The forcing of the grooming of children, the rainbow flags in the classroom. Imagine if you wanted to bring a cross and have it worn or hanging in a classroom. The uproar, but with the rainbow flag, you have to keep it there. They also talked about, did you see the mother of two on the United Airlines flight, misgendered? She was flying from San Francisco to Austin, which makes sense. She accidentally misgendered a flight attendant and got kicked off the flight. Meanwhile, the CEO of United Airlines, there's videos floating around of him in full-on drag. You've seen it. Walking around like some kind of a devilish alien crawling on the ground.
It's just bizarre, but even if you like.
And then you throw in DEI. He wants this thing where you got to have 50%, X number of women pilots and, minority pilots. Look, when I'm flying, Justin,
you want the best pilot.
I mean, I don't want my life being in danger. I don't care if you're a black pilot or a lesbian pilot. Are you a good pilot?
So I won't mention names, but I make my living in cybersecurity sales. Okay, and I've been in cybersecurity sales for 15. There's an audience because it's being taught and brainwashed into people. Yeah. Hey Mel. Hey Mel. But anyway, so I'm in cybersecurity sales. I've been in cybersecurity 15 years, and I have been in multiple meetings in my career where I'm meeting with a customer and they bring their cybersecurity team or their encryption team or whatever. I won't get too into the weeds of what I do, but I've met with an 8-person team, and all 8 of them are from India. So that's the opposite of diversity. What diversity, equity, and inclusion means is fewer white people. Okay,
Right.
this is too white. We need to have less whiteness. And frankly, I agree that it's probably a good idea to go into inner city schools, for example, and teach a predominantly African American student body more about science and technology and things that maybe they aren't emphasizing at home or whatever. Okay, that's probably a good thing to do. But to say, I was at a trade show in my field, cybersecurity, less than 2 years ago, and there was a booth at this exhibit booth at this huge exhibit hall that was dedicated to bringing more women into cybersecurity. And I remember thinking, well, if women want to go into cybersecurity, they can. They know that they can. There's nothing preventing them. There just aren't many women in cybersecurity. And then it occurred to me the reason that this booth was even created is because it's mostly men. It's a lot of dorky guys. Where do people meet their spouse often in the workforce, either at their job or at some other event? You spend a lot of time in your career. It seems like the inspiration for this wasn't like we need more women to make cybersecurity smarter or better. It's there weren't enough women at work. Okay, because what perspective when you have something like cybersecurity, why do you need different perspectives to make cybersecurity stronger? It's the stupidest argument. Well, let's look at the position of cornerback, defensive back in the NFL. I saw a statistic that of the last something like 2,800.
Jason Sehorn, I think, was the last white corner on the Giants.
Was he? Yeah. It was something like 2,838 of the last 2,840 cornerbacks were African American. That's the opposite of diversity.
Well, where are all the Asian corners? What about Hispanic corners? Let's get some of those in too.
The bottom line is, if you're a passenger on an airplane or whatever, you want the best people for it. You don't want to think someone's in that position because of their sexual orientation. I mean, it's just absolutely absurd.
Mind-boggling. It's just insane. We need more normalcy. And it's amazing. Trump, he's a counterpuncher. He's loud. And when you say normalcy and you're thinking, oh, that's not a common denominator with Trump, but it is. Because I turn the volume down and I look at the laws that he tries to pass and his policies. And if you just tune out the noise, I like it.
Look, I didn't care for his position.
Yeah.
The vaccine, I mean, look, he didn't force anybody to get it.
Operation Warp Speed, I think it was more of a talking point and a political stunt to help get reelected. Yeah, I'm glad I never got the jab, and I'm glad I've been proven right. I think only the hardcore goofballs are saying, yeah, it was a good idea today as opposed to 3 years ago. I mean, look, we can get into that conversation, but you got the jab, you still could spread it, you could still get the
and they knew
virus.
It. Yeah, and they knew it. And all the people that I knew.
Rachel Maddow said, no, you won't spread it.
And the people that I live amongst, people in my community that I see on social media, shaming others for not getting or not wearing a mask. And then as time goes on, it was all BS. All of it.
Right. Talk to a microbiologist about the masks. I have. again, I've mentioned this before. They can only stop particles that are over 0.05 microns in size. The coronavirus is way smaller.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have friends who are in the medical field who
Yeah.
they all knew it was BS. Ivermectin, the way people like you talk about the memo that everybody got,
Right.
the memo everybody, they were all saying the same BS about ivermectin. And ivermectin had been known for
Wonder drug.
over 15 or more years to stop other similar coronaviruses. It was known as a way to treat viruses. It's a great antiviral, I think is the term. But I mean, it was a known quantity.
Yeah,
And
the ivermectin, if you look at people that it's usually treated for parasites specifically, they stop of malaria and all that stuff. If you look at in like the Congo and a lot of Central African countries and in Asia, COVID was down in those areas because they took large doses of ivermectin.
yeah, in India, they like just gave it out to everybody. And, I don't know, we're getting off track here, but I think it's going to be look, hey, maybe all we can hope for, Steve-O, is that horse racing sticks around and we're able to keep coming on the air with Coffee with Dew and
No, listen.
give out winners.
We're giving out winners. We're talking about common sense. Look, we're just a couple of conservative dudes that want normalcy. Again, you brought up JFK. That guy's a Republican today.
Oh my God, he's a racist Republican.
Yeah, he's a Republican today. The Democrat Party has shifted into something else that is not recognizable today, and I think it needs to get blown up like I think it's going to. I think you're wrong about Trump. I think he's going to get elected, and I think he's going to win in a landslide.
What I said, hold on, that's not what I said. I said he will not ever be president again.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say he wouldn't win the election. I didn't say
that. Then that civil war you were talking about.
Look,
it will happen if he wins the election and they let him sit in the White House.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to happen, but the forces that want to change this world, not just America, but the whole world, they are so much more powerful than Donald Trump. So much more powerful, and they underestimated him in 2016. They made sure they didn't underestimate him in 2020, and they're not going to underestimate him this time. And how it's going to happen, I don't know. But I would bet serious money. I wouldn't say serious money. I would bet a real sizable bet that Donald Trump will never serve as president again.
Well, we got a very we got a good SCOTUS ruling recently. I think we're all right. Who do you think is going to be his VP?
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm a little surprised we don't know yet. When are we supposed to find out? Do you know the answer to that?
I don't know. I mean, I thought he was going to do it before the 4th of July here. That didn't happen.
When's the
Kansas Attorney General's lawsuit against Pfizer last week?
I read it.
Pfizer opted to not participate in Operation Warp Speed. The mRNA shots were not part of the Warp Speed.
Yeah, I read the complaints in that lawsuit, and it was like, I think I might have either retweeted it or sent it to somebody. And Jasmina is saying Trump never supported mandates. Yeah, that's true. But after he left office, recently he's been taking credit for the vaccine, and I don't know that's something to take credit for. Is my point. It just sort of seems like maybe the vaccine wasn't a good idea.
It was rushed. It's not even a vaccine. I mean, again, I've heard other people talk about it. I'm just glad I never got it because I had some real estate clients. Their daughter got the shot. College student, really good athlete. She developed myocarditis and had to quit the volleyball team she was on.
Well,
across Wisconsin. So
our good friend Rich Nilsson, and I hope I'm not getting these numbers wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. He is 1 degree removed from 7 people who died right after getting the vaccine. So when I say 1 degree removed, it's not Rich's coworker, it's his brother's coworker or his friend's cousin. You know what I mean? He is 1 degree away from, it's either 5 or 7 people who died within days of getting the vaccine, including at least one person who didn't want to get it, told his employer he didn't want to get it, was told get it or lose your job. He got it and then died. Okay,
That's terrible.
That happened many, many times. It's documented. This isn't a theory. And that's, again, this is all linked to why I say I don't think Trump's going to serve as president. Think how powerful those forces were that were able to convince the government and the media and employers to promote this vaccine narrative and force people to get it. I mean, you have to be very powerful to make something like that happen.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to let someone like Donald Trump or the American middle class come around and stand in the way of their goals.
I don't know if you've seen these videos. We ain't showing them.
So back to the debate.
Yeah.
That's how we segue into all of this stuff.
Right.
Is Joe Biden going to stay in? It looks like he is. Hunter Biden as weirdly attending all of the press conferences now, the White House briefing sessions. He's just staring at his dad now, I think, to keep him focused or something now. I guess Biden wants to stay in. Or the Democrats supposedly had about 30 people fly in and meet with them to try and push him out, from what I understand.
It feels,
what's going to happen?
It feels to me like the way all this narrative has been coordinated, and you're now getting mainstream media talking openly about Biden dropping out of the race and being pressured to drop out of the race.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything is by accident. I don't think any of this is organic. I think it's maybe even already been decided that he's gonna drop out. That's why the debate was held so early before the conventions, because they want to have time to, do things the way they want. Now, what's actually going to happen, I don't know. But I said, and I sent you a video of this within the last few days, I said more than a year ago that Gavin Newsom would be the next president of the United States.
I saw that video on Facebook. You posted it about 15 months ago.
Yeah, and I still think that that's very, very possible. There's no way anybody can think Biden could serve 4 more years. I mean, there's just no way.
He can't make 4. No.
So I don't think people, but this is the thing that I don't think people get about Democrats. It's not, they don't care about what's best for the country or having the right executive
power.
They don't care about that. They care about sending, Democrats are always saying things like, what message does that send to the rest of the world? Or the world is laughing at us. Who gives a shit if the world, what do you care if the French are laughing at us? Fuck them. Yeah. Who cares? It's about, that's why Barack Obama was elected president, because just enough people in America wanted to send a message to Europe. Look, see how diverse we are. Like, if Barack Obama was a white guy named Bob Smith, would anybody have ever heard of him? Absolutely not. Barack Obama was elected because just enough Americans, maybe 6 or 8% of the country, felt it was important to send a message to the rest of the world that we're diverse and inclusive, and we don't let white men rule us. And that's how Barack Obama won. It's that 6 to 8% that flips elections every time. And that's what happened. And, a similar motivation will still be in place this time. And, liberals are suckers for good-looking white men in suits. Okay, they're suckers. Look at Justin Trudeau, Emmanuel Macron, Beto O'Rourke, who never won anything, but was still, the next rock star of the party, Gavin Newsom. What do these guys have in common? They're all handsome guys who look good in a suit. And liberals are not used to being on the same side as men like that. So when they become heroes in the party. And Gavin Newsom fits that mold. Beto O'Rourke. There was a woman that I know in my community who's like, I love Beto O'Rourke. He just gets it. He's our future. Beto O'Rourke is a fucking idiot. You ever listen to him? He's a moron. Yeah. There's nothing unique about him, nothing special about him, but he didn't look like the normal liberal politician. Emmanuel Macron, Justin Trudeau. People hate Justin Trudeau.
Trudeau walks around like a bitch. I'm sorry, man. He looks like a pansy ass, a candy ass.
They all do. And
it's just, you know,
it's image. Image is everything to liberals. Image is everything. Conservatives don't care about that. They don't. Donald Trump is an overweight slob. But we don't care.
that can hit a golf ball a long way.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a swing. I mean, his swing looks terrible, but he's,
Remember in the debate, he goes, "I've seen your swing, Joe. I've seen your swing."
yeah.
He said he was a 6 handicap.
You asked
Joe
me
Biden.
what I think is going to happen. I think either Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom will end up being Donald Trump's opponent. I think if it's Kamala Harris, I think she's got no chance of winning. None.
No.
Gavin Newsom, I think, does.
My God.
And, you know, I think
with all the problems they have in California, he still has a shot, huh?
Liberals don't care about that stuff. They don't give a shit. They care about image, and they care about sticking it to white.
Well, I saw some poll data. Trump was leading Newsom. Not as much over like he is with Biden, but he's leading Newsom. He's crushing Kamala. And with Michelle Obama, I think it was neck and neck with Michelle slightly ahead. Which to me, I don't get that either. I don't understand.
No,
I in a lunch program, she was the first lady, no executive experience, doesn't even have her law degree anymore. I don't know what she brings to the table.
Well, she's
outside of what you were already talking about.
No, I'll tell you what it brings. She gives white women a chance to show how virtuous they are by saying, "I voted for Michelle Obama." That's the attraction with Michelle Obama. I don't think she helps, you know, liberals get the African American vote, and they're going to get it anyway. But I think.
But Trump is polling really well with African Americans right now.
You say that.
Well,
America,
here, and what did he get in the last election? 6-8%.
I don't know the answer to that, but I also know
he's going to get at least double that.
We don't. But the thing is, when someone votes, we don't know what their race or ethnicity is. The only thing we could do is look in, you know, traditional African American voting precincts and see if his numbers are better there. The polls, I think, are total bullshit. I don't believe anything that they say. I just don't. You know, hey, Trump might win the election and not serve as president. Something is going to prevent him from serving as president. They're not going to let it happen. He's too dangerous to the globalist agenda, to the political ruling class in America. He's way too dangerous, and I don't think it's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right and I'm wrong.
Interesting. I got something I want to show everybody real quick. Let me get to it here.
We spend more time talking politics now than we did horses, by the way.
Check this out.
Hey, Marco's watching Coffee with Dew on his patio TV. What the hell is this? I mean,
hey, just Sleepy Joe.
Just watch this, okay?
What is going on here?
It's almost over. It's a trailer.
I think something bad's about to happen to Sleepy Joe here.
You're fired.
That's the wall. MAGA coin on Solana.
And
Anyway,
Is that MAGA coin? That's a cryptocurrency.
It's a cryptocurrency that I'm a part of.
Is it worth any money?
It's worth something. It's we're building it up. We're making that. That's a trailer for a fighting game. We're gonna have 8 characters to start out with. It's gonna have Joe Biden and Trump, and we're probably gonna throw Vivek in there and Hillary Clinton, and they're all. It's gonna be like a Street Fighter game, and you can play and you can wager and do other things with the MAGA coin on there, and a percentage of it's gonna go to charities. So, it's a cryptocurrency project with a video game.
I like your idea that you had a long time ago. I hope I can discuss it here about Horsebit.
Oh yeah, I got Horsebit. Emily, the crossover of horses commentary is good, and that's coming from the wokest person in this chat.
Is Emily? I'm not. Is Emily woke? I don't know if she's woke.
Emily is. We love Emily.
I don't know that I've had 1 or 2 political discussions, but they're more about geopolitical events than politics, I think. So I can't say for sure that I know Emily's.
Well,
politics.
if Emily's really, really woke, she keeps it close to her vest.
Well, if she's describing anybody who's describing themselves as woke is probably very woke. We'll see. I know that she's. I pay attention to her opinions on the racetrack. Maybe not politically. I don't know, but I pay attention to her product optics. I was a longtime user of that, and I got away from it recently.
I need to get on that.
Yeah, it's optics is. Here's the thing, I've won 2 contests online because of optics. End of discussion. And
okay, wait a minute. You won 2 contests, and you let the subscription run out.
Yeah. So this is what happened with me in optics. It's happened more than once where I became a little bit too reliant on it. And there were multiple occasions where I was interested in a horse. I saw some things I liked. I checked optics, the grid, which is what I predominantly used. The grid did not like the horse. So I got off the horse and the horse won. Now that can happen with any product, any proprietary handicapping product. That absolutely can happen. So I'm going to just tell it like it is. I won 2 contests and made some nice scores specifically because of optics. Sometimes it reinforced. There was multiple occasions where I was looking at a horse in the 16 to 20 to 1 range. I liked it. Optics liked it. I bet more and I won more. Okay. That definitely happened. But I just felt like it was at a time where I wanted to get away from it. And so I did, but I would not talk anyone into buying an optics subscription. I would not, let me try again. I would not talk anyone out of getting an optics subscription. It helped me. If you learn how to use it, Emily would probably say I wasn't using it 100% correctly, and she's probably right. I think it's that. And listen, I also think that Ragazine and Thorograph have also helped me. I use Timeform US pace projections that you find in Daily Racing Form. I don't use Timeform PPs, but I have found that the Timeform US pace projections you get in Formulator are usually really, really good at predicting how the early part of a race is going to shape up. They're not 100%, nothing is, but anyway, that's kind of my unsolicited opinion on optics and other things. I think everyone, let me put it this way. I think everyone should try optics for at least a little while. I would strongly encourage anyone to try it and see if it works for you.
Emily wants to come on and talk about optics maybe, but yeah. I don't have I don't have her email. Emily, if you want to send me your email, I could send you a link.
You have to, or can you just add her to the
I think I need to send her a link. Actually, you know what I could do? No, I don't want to post it in the main chat.
What if well, Emily, maybe you send Steve-O your personal email on Twitter.
I think I do have her email on my other email, if that makes sense. Saved. Let's see here. There it is. I got it. Emily, I just sent you a link. Join in on the discussion.
We've got 225 viewers. How are more people joining this?
We got 240. Well, there's different. Well, my Instagram ran out. They only do 1 hour. And then on YouTube, we have people watching. And then most of our people are from Twitter. Live anyway. The YouTube people, they usually watch it later.
At some point, we'll have to do a wrap up of the picks that we have. Hey, I wonder if we've been on so long. I wonder if scratches are out. Let me see if my
check it out.
I wonder if they're even still in the friggin' race. I don't think we have scratches yet from Naira. Woodbine, I would say definitely won't, since they're not. It's Thursday and they don't run until later.
Looks like Emily's trying to get on, but it says device is not connected. So try and wonder why that's doing that. Oh, she popped out. She'll get in here in a minute.
We don't have scratches for Ellis. I mean, I really liked a horse at Ellis today.
Listen, it got washed off. Don't pull your hair out, or I won't pull my hair out worrying about it. Emily's trying to connect.
And Horseshoe, we kind of just assumed Horseshoe was going to be off the turf. Hey, how about this announcement?
Here we go, Emily, Hawthorne Emily.
I could figure out the technical stuff.
What's up, Emily?
So, thanks for joining in. Let's talk a little bit about your optics product.
Yeah, I mean, lots to talk about, but it's we just did it. We just launched an update. So if you haven't seen it lately, kind of made things a little bit tighter as far as like the analytics, and I think presentation wise, people like it because we changed the layout, made it a little bit brighter. You can see some examples on the social, but I mean, it's more. I know what Justin's saying. Like as far as like when. Optics, quote unquote, likes a horse, because there's certain things that are just going to kind of pop and catch your eye. And sometimes that aligns with what you've already thought. Now, especially if you're looking at, standard past performance first, I'm just kind of using that generically, whether it's like Timeform, BRF, Brisnet, whatever. And then you look at optics and it's like, oh, I had this one thought. Now I'm looking at something else. And you kind of have those like competing ideas, and then again it always just comes back to gambling, right? Like wherever the value is. So it should never be used to quote unquote talk you off a horse, but you have information, and there's things that on optics that will look a certain way, and like, wow, that horse is like really jumping off the page, and I'll dig in and go, okay, I kind of see why had a biased racetrack, or maybe that figure's inflated, or some of the other horses up and down and things like that. So it's a tool more than anything else. I guess that's really kind of the one thing I want to say is that optics isn't doing any predictive modeling. So there's not like optics likes this horse, or optics is telling you this is the horse in the race, if that makes sense. Like the data can pop in a certain way that will, kind of catch your eye, but it's not giving you a horse. You're still doing the work. So in those cases where Justin's giving credit to optics for winning the tournaments, Justin did it on his own. He just was analyzing good, the data effectively.
No, I would. So here's why I disagree with you. This happened on a weekend where Formulator was down on a Saturday and a Sunday for about 90 minutes each day. And all that I had access to, because they were live contests, was optics. And I had to make picks based on the information I had, which was basically just the tote board and optics. And on both days, I made picks solely based on what I was seeing on optics.
But optics is a past performance provider. That's what I'm getting at. That's all I use to handicap. So it's not doing picks. You're just looking at the same data that you'd look on Formulator. You're just looking in a different visual.
But you have to admit that if you have a 10-horse field and you see the 4 horse has that big yellow square in Q1, and that horse is 8-1 on the tote board. That is optics screaming in your face. Bet on the 4. I mean, that.
Well, I mean, what it's telling you is that the 4 has a pace advantage, and the pace has a hidden pace advantage because clearly the public is not seeing the data. That's pretty much it. Optics isn't coming up with something that doesn't already exist. If the horse looks like that and the public is ignoring it, it's picking on something that people aren't seeing, but that it's there. Yeah, that's the new layout. That's kind of an example of the new layout. So it's
yeah. So I need a tutorial on how to use the software. Is there? I saw a video on here.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of videos, but can you go back to that real quick? Because I'm gonna just like explain this super super easy.
Okay.
That it's not overly more complicated than what people will think, right? You have, I think the one thing that this isn't showing right now is the speed figure, just because the way that it's cropped, at least.
Oh, am I missing something here?
No. It's just the way that picture's cropped. But generally speaking, the only thing that's missing there is you'd have a speed. So basic handicapping is speed, right? Is the horse fast enough to compete with today's group? Class, is the horse placed at the right class level for their ability? Pace, can the horse's run style fit today's race shape? And form, is the horse in form right now? So essentially with optics, what we're looking at is, we have speed figures in a speed figure range that will kind of line up and say yes or no. This horse is not fast enough to compete with today's group under today's conditions. What we're seeing there, that ONG, that grade, is the horse's overall grade for that class level. So when they're back under similar conditions, when there's similar spot, a non-winner's a 2, a non-winner's a 1, a grade 3, whatever that is, a B grade is a winning race for the level. So regardless of whether that horse finishes 1st or 5th, if you see that B grade, that is just telling you this is a level where this horse can compete as a contender.
Oh, that's good to know, because I saw that our horses on Saturday, one of them, I think they both had a B grade.
Yeah. So if they're running a B, so now what you want to do is make sure that B is at the same condition for today, right? So if you're running a B at a 5,000, non-winners a 2, and now they're running at a 17, non-winners a 3, that B isn't going to be the same. Drop back down to a 5. Right. They probably be. And then when you're looking at the optics notes, which is what this is highlighting, is basically your form cycle indicators, right? It was when you start seeing, okay, yeah, this horse finished 5th last out, but it can improve, or it's a 7th place finish, but it's better than look. Like when Justin was talking about when you're pulling up the trips of the Woodbine horse. What you're talking about with those trips is essentially the notes. You're not concerned about the finishing position, because what you're saying is that finishing position can be better under different conditions and under different circumstances. So that's the notes, and that's the form aspect, right? Is you're being able to say, here's why a horse ran a good race, here's why a horse ran a bad race, and how we can assess what's going to happen for today's race. And then the things we put to the side, those alerts, those are just kind of those quick alerts there, just kind of telling you like form cycle indicators, like green keyword last out, 3rd off, and it'll highlight red when it's negative factors as well. And then the speed, plot, and class that is to the further right is just kind of showing you in a relational standpoint where that horse fits today's conditions. So the speed is average, not red, no real speed figure edge, but fast enough. Same thing with the plot. No extreme pace scenario standout, like Justin had mentioned, the horse that's the big square in quadrant 1. So no extreme, but can still work a trip. And then class looks like that's above, or what is it saying? Is that above?
Above for the Churchill, for the horse or whatever. So
yeah, and then it's saying as far as class, this horse fits. And then you have like the above plus. So you're saying, yeah, this horse is a standout on speed figures, is a standout on the plot. Those are things that you're looking for. And then you just always compare that, like Justin said, you compare to the board, and you realize when you're getting the best of it, when you have the good information that's lining up with overlays on the board.
I think, well, for me, this is the part that gets, well, I don't know what happened there.
I think it's just cut
But-
off like the image, but maybe you can click on
but
it.
this
I don't know.
this part here is
Mhm.
where I get confused on these charts or these graphs.
The grid.
Yes, the grid. So
Oh, that's the plot right there. The grid is looks like kind of more
Oh,
standard past performances.
can you explain how this works? Real
Yeah.
quick.
I mean, are you able to?
Should I? Okay, go ahead.
Can we click on that and make it bigger? Because it's not really giving like the full picture.
That is, well, I can't.
There
Really.
should be, Steve-O, there should be a place on the optics page where you can see an example of the
Yeah.
plot.
But basically, like the plot is it's giving a visual representation of the race shape. Your first call, you'll be looking at the plot from left to right. So when horses break out of the gate, who will be on the lead, who's going to be sitting mid-pack, who will be sitting off the pace. Your second call, you'll be pretty much, I'm kind of generalizing, but you'll be more or less looking kind of from top to bottom. So in that position, the 10 will be clearly out in front. And then as horses kind of go into the stretch, that's more where the shapes matter because the squares have more finishing ability than circles. And again, we make those shapes that are in relationship. There we go. That are in relationship to each other, right? So if we're looking at this plot, it looks like the 1 and the 10 are going to go out and set the pace, right? They have a lot of separation on every other horse in the field. They're going to be out there dueling early. We've all seen this race shape in our mind, right? Where those two horses set out on a duel and then they kind of clear from the others. Now, as those horses come into the stretch, that's where the shapes come into play because the squares have more finishing ability than a circle. So if you're coming down the stretch and it looks like this and there's the 10 and there's the 1, the 10 should outkick the 1.
Okay.
In that scenario, right?
So,
And then you
Emily,
have kind of those horses that are squares, right? The 3, the 5, the 6 that'll probably start to move up late. They might have a lot of work to do just because there's a big separation, right? You see that like gap between the two, but like the 4 and the 7 won't be able to outkick the 3, the 5, and the 6, assuming that those horses are in form.
Emily, let me ask a question here. You have also labeled contention and the speed rating. Sometimes I would see it where, it seems. Wouldn't you think that when there's a snowflake, you'd have a slow pace, kind of like what you see here? But occasionally, I've seen what I interpret to be conflicting symbols. You'll see a very hot pace but slow speed, and then vice versa. You'll see no contention because it's a snowflake, but a hot pace. So can you just kind of clarify what you're saying there?
Yeah, because they're it's like one of those like similar but different, right? So your contention has to deal with horses that are in the way that we deal with it is the contention is based on how many horses are positioned in quadrant 1. So that gives the contention rating. So if most of the field is not in quadrant 1, kind of what we're seeing right now, 2 of the 10 horses, so I'm assuming this is a 10-horse field, no less, are in quadrant 1, there's a lighter contention.
So contention has nothing to do with early speed duels. Contention is just about how contentious is the race.
Contentious, the early pace, the number of horses that are in quadrant 1. Contention is the number of horses that are in quadrant 1.
Well, wait a minute. But sorry to interrupt. But a horse could be in quadrant 3 and part of the early pace, but has that second segment of the race isn't very good, so it plots poorly on the middle, the up and down axis.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of clarify that?
Yep. So that's where you're gonna. Yes, it could be part of the contention. I guess that does come into it just because you're looking at the visual race shape, but the contention does have to deal with the horses that are in quadrant 1. Now that can impact the speed rate because the speed rate is now going to tell you for those horses that want to be on or near the lead, how fast are they going? Are they going 21 and change and 44, or are they going 23 and 46? Because those are 2 different race shapes that could still have 2 horses on a duel, right? 2 horses could separate on a duel, go 21 and 44. 2 horses could separate on a duel and go 23 and 46 for 6 furlongs. And it could be a lot tougher for those closer types or better, depending on the situation. So that's where it comes into play with the speed rate, and it'll move up to the par line as well. So you'll be able to see it visually, how many horses are above that par line. And that usually, when you see more horses above the par line, you'll see that higher speed rate. And that comes into that kind of second scenario where you could have a higher contention. I think I just looked at a race on Sunday at Hawthorne that was kind of like that it was like a higher contention, maybe a sun or a fire, where there was a lot of horses that were kind of bunched in quadrant one right around the center of the plot, but everyone was below that par line, right? So it's like, oh, there's a lot of horses that want to be on or near the lead, but none of these horses are really fast. So there's a lot of different scenarios to play out in that race shape. So yeah, pace there can be a lot of nuance to pace for sure. That's why when you're kind of looking at the plot, you're looking, you can kind of instantly get an idea, like, is there an extreme, right? Is there extreme lone speed, to keep on brand with the conversation?
Well, that's my question.
Or an extreme setup for a closer.
Well, so my next question was going to be, what impact does your pace projection have on the shape a horse gets? In other words, if this particular plot here has a kind of a slow early pace, if that was going to be a blistering early pace, that would of course impact what shape the 10 became, correct?
It could, because it's all depending on the race. The shape is dependent on how all the horses in the race are in relation to each other. So if the speed rating is quicker, that might not necessarily downgrade the 10, because everybody else is going to be impacted by that race shape as well. Which
I'm glad you said that, because that dovetails nicely with my next question. This is an area, and there are, of course, like any horse player, a number of areas where I need to improve or have a better understanding of something, and I'll try to ask this question the right way. Can you describe for me how to spot a horse that is, it's better late. It either has a good closing kick or comes from behind. Sometimes I have trouble projecting if a closer is a closer based on the speed that it consistently runs early versus a positional closer, which is a horse that just likes to come from out of it. So a horse might consistently run its opening half mile in a two-turn turf race in 48 3/5 seconds. Sometimes that could put the horse a length off the lead. Other times it will put the horse 7 lengths off the lead. I have not been able to consistently identify which horses just run at their speed versus which horses just like to be farther back and off the pace. How do you spot one versus the other?
Well, there's a couple ways, and one, like, in this type of race, you can kind of see like where the 5 was, is right. He's not necessarily going to be a deep closer, so you could compare that to. But what I would say is the grid, which looks more like the past performances. I don't know if that's up there. We have the grid.
I'm gonna try and pull up a race from Hawthorne if I could.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't have because we only just do the program. But
okay.
Let me see if I can, you know what? Maybe I'll try to send you something that has the grid if I can. If I can find something real quick. What is this? All right.
I see you have Dick Best getting the lead on Sunday.
Yep. All right, I just sent you something real quick. That gives kind of just like just for information purposes, we can kind of just see what we're looking at on there. But
did you email me something?
Yeah.
All right, let me.
To like Justin's point, so in the grid, what you could see is you could see the horses you could see where the horse was in prior races on the plot and see where, so if you scroll over to, I know it's a lot of information overload right from the start, but scroll over like the other direction. Keep going. Okay, right there. You see the column that has like the prior plot to it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see where a horse was in those prior races. Now you can compare that with where they've been successful, right? Say X horse has been successful when they're a quadrant 4. X horse has been, when they're in quadrant 4, they're not as, they're finishing 3rd or 4th. Maybe that's a horse you start using in your tries and supers.
Interesting.
This horse is moving forward from a quadrant 4 last out into a quadrant 1. The last time it had that pattern, it resulted in a win. So you can start to see those type of horses. Now, also the other way is you have those next to the running lines. It's like the A, the VS, the VF. We tweaked this a little bit too, since this is kind of an older picture of the newer version. But that column there, that's showing the race shapes early. So you can see, was this horse closing into a very fast early pace? Was this horse closing into a very slow early pace? Was it moving with the race flow, et cetera? So you can start using all those little pieces of information as far as deciding like where this horse, again, why a horse is running a good race, why it's running a bad race. Does that help answer it? Putting the horse in context of why they kind of look a little different. And then it goes to notes too. Sometimes you'll look and say, oh, well, this horse is really far back. Oh, it has tactic minus. Scroll over that little blue like thing, and it's like rider took hold early. Oh, okay, that's why the horse was 10 lengths off. Like,
oh,
the
this
rider,
right
the
here.
rider's being a ding dong. Yeah, if it wasn't a screenshot, that would come up
Yeah.
with like a
Okay.
a little thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot there. And this is the other thing that I think prevented me from getting all that I could from what Optics offers is I learned to handicap using daily racing form past performances. And like even Brisnet PPs, I look at them and I'm like, this isn't right. It's sort of like when you walk in to I don't know if you guys are familiar with the grocery store chain called Publix here in the southeastern U.S., but people joke about how when they walk into a Publix that's different from their normal grocery store, they're all out of sorts, so they can't find anything. I'm sort of the same way with past performances. Even looking at Brisnet, which for all I know, it's been around longer than I don't have any idea, but it's what I learned on, and I feel like I'm looking at a completely foreign language when I look at something like Brisnet, which has really got more information to it. And it's the same thing with Optics. Now, to someone dumb like me, the plot with all the pretty colors and the big numbers, that's easy for me to interpret. But the past performances, my brain is so, after 25 years of playing the horses with DRF, it's just so dialed into that format that it's like I look at DRF PPs and I retain information without even consciously doing it.
No, I mean, I fully get it. And I learned on DRF too, there was kind of a transition period. Even when we came out with this new version with the colors, because it wasn't as, the only thing that we color coded before was anything that you see that's like bright red and bright green. Everything else was just kind of black and white, right? So it was just kind of two colors that were like, here's what's really good, here's what's really bad, to sort. Then there's all these colors. And my initial reaction to the email was, this is an assault on my senses. I didn't know how to handicap. Just everything went out the window because of what you mentioned. It was just like, there's so much. Now, some things had to be kind of tweaked a little bit and put things in order. Like that bright yellow that you see as a B-, we brought that color down. We turned the C+ into a pink. So it looks a little, so the things that really pop, we move that column over, that scratch column that's like in the bright right now, we move that over in the grid. So it's like it's not taking up space for no reason really. So there's things like that, but there is that kind of like transition. But I think if you just, like when you, like that weekend that you were just kind of forced to use what was available to you to get the job done, then in 2 days, you're like, oh, I see what I'm looking at now. It
Yeah.
doesn't take as long as you think, but when you have that, when you have the crush of what you're used to, but I'm not going to knock like what people are into. Like I have no, if DRF is working for you, great. If Briz, great. If writing your own program, this is all I use.
You know what? Something else about the plot, and Frank Mastari kind of made this very simple point not long ago to me, and he was 100% right. When back in the day, when I was playing the horses on the weekends, I would print out the past performances.
Me too.
Entire track, and I'd have them, and I race with say 12 horses in it, and I'm holding the two pieces of paper in front of me. You can see everything at once that way. Now, when I look on the screen on Formulator, you're really only seeing one, maybe two horses at a time. That makes a difference. You don't really think of it, but you don't realize how important it is to see everything in front of you. And the optics plot does give you a way to sort of see everything at once. Again, I never got into the past performances element of optics. It was what we're seeing now on the screen, the plot.
Yeah.
But it does make a huge difference. I thought a very valuable tool. I'll probably renew my subscription at some point. I'm kind of in the point where I'm, kind of reevaluating some things, taking a different approach to betting. It's been a good few months for me, and I'll probably try as we get into when California turf racing comes back with Del Mar. I'm probably going to, because I think that'll be a heavy focus for me. It'd probably be a good time for me to open up, and also, I hear great things about Ragusan, which I've never paid for. I have seen them. I have paid for Thorograph a couple of times, usually on just big days. But it's probably, if you're going to be serious about handicapping and you can afford it, optics is obviously much more economical than, say, Ragusan or Thorograph. It's probably a good idea to use multiple products and get a sense for what works for you and hone in on something, so you're not just relying on replays.
Yeah, I mean, again, like it's just if you zoom out from all that, it's just in this game, it's about where are you able to find an edge. If you're able to find an edge on using Thorographs or using daily race, whatever, like that's what you should go to.
And for me,
to me, I mean, I think as kind of optics is essentially an old school method, right? To me, the edge will be in watching races, but again, it's putting all the pieces in. I still need to know if a horse has a good trip, whether they fit today's race shape, they're fast enough. I see all the time. I'm like sitting on a horse, like, we can look at the 6 horse, right? City of God. What is that?
Yeah, I pulled this up, Emily. This is my dad's race on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about the grid. You have a small square and a large square. And then I noticed you have some stuff in red here.
Yeah.
Perfect, tactic, and hard. Yep. These are these negative things?
Yep. So they're negative not just because we've just like decided randomly, like, oh, these are things that we think are negative. It's the fact that out of all those times that we've written that note, I've used that keyword, which is part of why we use that keyword. We can run analytics on it and see how it performs next out. So if it's a low impact value or it's a high impact value, we want to make sure that that's coded in red. And those change. There's a few that have jumped. This keyword used to be green, but after so and so many times, we gotta bring it back. So like I can give a case on like both those horses. So like the City of God horse, right? You can see that 3 back, that race 3 back at FanDuel. That was a better than looked effort. The horse ran a huge race that day. But after that, they moved him up in class, and he just couldn't quite get, still running his race, but it's not on the level that it's needed to compete at that condition. So those are factors where it's like, oh, I watched a race, I've got a horse that's live on a trip, but they're just not in the right spot. Now, as far as your horse is kind of a sneaky combination, right? Because it has that bright green B+, which means when you see a B+, it means not only did the horse, a B is a standard win, but when it has a B+, it's like they ran that race almost 100 times that horse is winning. Like he's just so much the best. Did what more it's going to take, more than what it takes to win, and usually something that suggests that the horse can step up in class. Now it does have the hard keyword attached to it. So the horse ran that big race, but kind of had to work a little bit harder to do so. And while it is negative, there is kind of a factor that if the horse is given enough time between starts, they can recover to race again. So if we're coming back on, you ran back in 2 weeks, that horse he might still win again, but he's probably not going to run back to the same figure.
Yeah, that was June 2nd, so it's good 32 days.
Yeah,
34 days, yeah.
Yeah, and so yes, and he probably in this field doesn't need to run that big of a race to win this race, right? He can take a slight regression and still win.
Well, that's the hope.
Right? So, okay, so you asked about the plot, the changes on the plot. So again, we're looking at first call, left to right. So, especially with the rail draw, should be on the lead. We look at second call, top to bottom, still on the lead. Then those squares, finishing ability. So a square is always more finishing ability than a circle. The bigger the square, the more finish. Even a smaller square still has finishing ability. So if we're looking at the standard plot, which is current form, even though the square is smaller than the square of the 2, there's enough separation between the 1 and the 2 that that your horse is able to clear. That hard keyword is kind of negated today because of the time between. He should still have enough separation to hold. Now the 2 will be gaining late, but might be a little too late.
Can you talk about because I'm Jorge Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he's a big optics user. Steven, can you scroll back up so we can see the plot? He told me he never looks at surface distance. He only looks at standard. I think that's what he said. Apologize if I misquoted. Can you talk about when you should focus on standard versus when you should focus on surface distance?
It kind of goes back to where you think you find an edge. And so if he finds an edge just using current form and knows when to capitalize on that, that I think that's great. And he's kind of got a little bit of a specialty there. To me, I'm pretty much just looking to see if there's any changes. And we look at this plot and there's no real significant changes on the plot, right? The 6 kind of moves up a little bit on current form for surface distance, but there's no big, it's like if the one looked like the 5, if the 1 looked like the 1 on standard, but then looked at the 5 on surface distance, you'd be like, something's up. Let me figure out why does that look like that?
Emily, where's the 6? Where's the 6 on the surface distance?
He's right above the 5. He's like a little.
Oh, yeah. that little thing right there. Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Now again, on the
couldn't see
when
it.
when you don't have the PDF and you're on the site, if you scroll over like a horse, like on the past 3 run lines, it like would highlight on the plot.
Yeah.
But obviously, the website is far more dynamic. But a PDF to Justin's point is everything on one page. So if you're going to the track and you download this, you have it on your phone, and the horses are in the paddock, you have everything just on one page in front of you.
Hey, Emily, I'd like to ask, kind of shifting gears a little bit here. So, you know me more, I think, more from the contest world. I play in a lot of contests. I try to come to all the Hawthorne contests. Everybody, I've said this on social media. Anybody who plays contests, you need to come to Hawthorne as often as you can. I'm not sure if we lost Steve or not, but my question is, how can we? How do I put this? I would like to see Hawthorne become a bigger thing in horse racing, whether that's offering contests online every weekend, or
sorry guys,
somehow coming up with its own Hawthorne series of contests. And let's just assume for a minute that Hawthorne has done the math and it's in their financial interest or marketing interest one way or another to host these contests. I know you can't do things like give away free prizes all the time, and I have no idea how much actual revenue Hawthorne generates from the, say, Thanksgiving contest where you're giving away seats and just generating more handle. I don't know how the numbers work. I'm too stupid for that. But what is the likelihood, and how can we enhance Hawthorne's involvement with the mindset Hawthorne has shown towards contests to be something bigger than what it currently is, which is already big and exciting, but how do we expand it?
Yeah, I mean that's just something that we're working on, and it's also too, it's one of those things that like we want to be taking kind of baby steps on, like versus just being like, hey, let's make the biggest tournament we possibly can, like right now. What does that look like? Because I think that there's so much groundwork and just putting on the tournaments that we've been putting on each and every year, then adding to the invitational, thinking like, okay, how do we make that a little bit bigger? How do we do this? Things like that. And a lot of it right now is like, we're also waiting for the racetrack, right? The racetrack itself. We are running races, but Steve's been there. Like, the racetrack itself can be better. I'll just leave it at that. So there's a lot of things that are kind of like on a timeline. And I'm glad to hear you say like we want more from Hawthorne because they're doing it right, and like we're in the same boat. So it's like we're not just saying like, hey, we're doing good, let's keep what we're doing. We have those like plans to, hey, let's take it next step up. Let's try to do this. Let's try to do that. But again, it is all on a timeline. And the same thing with the racing product as well. We want to get it to where we have the bigger fields and the higher purses for the horsemen and, things like that. But it's like, it's just all on that timeline. And if you could just, wave a wand and make everything perfect. Yeah. But given what we've got, we're just trying to go in the right direction, let everybody know, like, this is a long-term dime, not a short-term nickel for us. Like, we are in this game and like want to make horse racing amazing because everybody, you've been to Hawthorne, like, we love this game. It's not like, hey, I'm waiting until I can take the next step and be like CEO of Amazon or whatever. It's like, we love horse racing. Like, that's it.
So I've had this kind of idea that I've expressed, I don't know if I've ever put it on social media or not, but this idea that I have of where horse racing is going. Mm-hmm. And
don't bring this up again.
Well, I think a lot of tracks that we see today are not going to be around. I think Kentucky is going to be a major part of horse racing in the future. California, will it close? I don't know. Is Belmont Park ever going to really reopen? I mean, yes, I'm sure it will, but Maryland
spending a lot of money, I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, things are happening, but I can see a day where you have racing in Kentucky, you've got Oaklawn, you've got is Tampa Bay Downs always going to stay open because it's its own entity? I don't know, but Maryland, that's going to be kind of iffy. Do you think Hawthorne is moving forward with its plans, with the steps that it's taking and the plans that it has? How, if the sport does contract, how is Hawthorne going to make sure it remains a relevant and viable racing product?
Well, I mean, we're in Chicago's a major market. I mean, like straight up, like all the other places. So, I mean, that's always going to be a benefit. And we're near the city, near airports. Who knows? Maybe mass transit goes there. I've seen some plans for something along those lines. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff. I mean, the bigger. I don't have an issue there because there's things that are outside of us that just make sense being a major market, number one. But I mean, in terms of the consolidation of racetracks, I think that's something that people really need to think hard and long about, because in some sense it's like it sounds good, right? It's like, oh, we only have a few horses here, a few horses there. If we just put them all together, then we have one big thing. But it's like we've kind of already seen consolidation happen. Like there used to be, let's use California, for example. There used to be Bay Meadows and Golden Gate. Oh, well, right. Now Bay Meadows is closed. Okay, that's more for this one circuit. Well, right. Then that starts to go away. So it's like you just end up consolidating yourself down to nothing. Then there's another part that, you know, people kind of don't really think about is like, I'm sure, you know, I don't know your background, like how you got into horse racing, but for the most part, a lot of people got into horse racing because they had a local track and they had a family member that took them there, or, you know, something like that. They've had some kind of experience going to the track that's like in their neighborhood, or somebody in their family had that experience. Now, when you start closing racetracks, like somebody in the state of Maryland, like, gonna ever have the experience of going to a racetrack, it's going to be irrelevant. So it's just less people in general that are like exposed. So there's like, there's just a lot more to that. And then it, you know, it sounds nice. Like, okay, let's consolidate. And then we have these like, you know, really nice circuits and these nice races and these nice horses. But it's like, that's not how it works. I mean, nobody's breeding horses to run in a $5,000 claiming race. They're in a $5,000 claiming race because they're not the top of the top. And that's not a knock on $5,000 claimers. They have their purpose. And that's my favorite part of the game. You know, I find stakes races kind of boring. $5,000 claimers is very interesting to me because you have form and you have trips and you have all this and that. So it's like you can't even really just say, hey, let's create a circuit that's just nice horses. Like, I don't know. I think there's other things that, you know, my like controversial take is I think we should consider cloning. I think that there's something to go in that direction.
Wait, cloning horses?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, most people don't know this, right? But like cloning has been used cloning is legal in equestrian sports in the Olympics. Cloning, a lot of polo is been using cloning for years. And it sounds kind of wild, but there's actually a lot of ethics behind it, because instead of trying to, you know, for a show jumper, instead of trying to breed a bunch of horses, trying to get one that's a good show jumper, you just say, hey, we have the genetic potential of this one. We know what we're going to get. Instead of trying to breed tens of thousands of horses that, you know, could be wastage, let's get one good one, right?
But then does that take the fun out of handicapping?
No. And you're not gonna ever get away from breeding. Like you can still breed. You can't breed clones. Like that's just, you don't breed clones. But you have a horse that's, if you have a clone, let's say you clone Arrogate. Arrogate's dead. He can't, you know, take the genetic potential. You clone thousands of Arrogates. You have, you know, race horses that can run long, that can run short, that can run fast, that can run on grass, and you have a good racehorse for 10 years. And then you have a good horse that's after that, without having to, you know, breed tens of thousands of horses to get to an Arrogate. Why not explore? Maybe it's a non-starter.
Why not have robot horses running?
Well, that takes away from the handicapping. But when you have a horse, like, you know, it could be a thing like for, you know, your family member who's like has one really good horse or two really good clones that they can have for 10 years. They can work. They can, you know, they have a horse they have on the track every 30, 45 days racing. So I don't know. There's things to explore.
Would you have a field, Emily, of 10 horses that are all clones of each other? Is that the idea?
Why not?
Yeah,
I mean, what difference does it make? From a betting standpoint, it's the same information, right? You're still handicapping, like pace, you know, everything's the same. Like there's still trainer intent, there's still riders. All you're doing is basically just saying we're starting with the genetic potential of a horse.
You know what I'd rather see? I'd rather see jockeys cloned than horses, or robots, or have robots clone the horses. Because
Carl Fry.
Carl frickin' Fry.
Well, I mean, they've done that, right? That's like the NFT thing, whatever. But you know, I mean, I'm just saying, and maybe it's a bad idea, but there's things that, like, if you're talking like sustainability, that could look like let's explore things that are different versus.
Well, you know, I'm going to
taking a model that is currently and arguably not sustainable, and just saying let's just keep pushing forward with it.
You know, trainer David Hoffman's just passed away in the last couple of days, and
R.I.P.
They talked about two horses he trained, Awesome Again and Touch Gold. Can you even begin to imagine how dominant either of those horses would be in the handicap division these days. A horse like Awesome Again, or go like how about a horse like Formal Gold, who, I don't even know if Formal Gold ever won a Grade 1 or not. He probably did, but
I just had this discussion with my dad about the horses from the 70s. Forego, Affirm, Spectacular Bid, Seattle Slew, Secretariat. You throw any of those horses in right now, they dominate.
Well, I mean, this is kind of where I was going as far as like sustainability, is that it's just also a different model. Like would Awesome Again, who was winning his fold in 94, so he's racing in.
He didn't race very long. He didn't have a lot of starts.
96.
No, he won Awesome Again won the Breeders' Cup Classic in '98. That race that had Swain, who finished on the outside.
Victory Gallop, Skip Away, Silver Charm.
So 97 was the 3-year-old campaign. I'm just looking at Wikipedia. It's a lot of paragraphs, but 98 was a 4-year-old campaign. Then Breeders' Cup Classic was in 98. And so it's also different because Frank Stronach bred and owned the horse, which breeding and owning is becoming fewer and fewer far between, which back in the 70s was the majority. It was less sales, it was more breeding, it was more the operation. And now today, some of those horses that would be, those long-standing type horses are just quickly off to breed. They've done enough. They've won enough races. They're worth more in the breeding that we just don't have. That's where I was kind of going with like a sustainability model. It's very rare. It's very rare for a horse that you talked about earlier on the show, a Senior Buscador. That's like a rare horse. He's done a bunch. I see a gelding. Yeah. It might be a gelding. That's why. But yeah, they're just like, if he wasn't, we might not have. I might not be talking about using Senior Buscador as an example because he might have retired at 4.
So more bad news from horse racing here, I guess, from Jason.
Yeah, this is about an hour or two old, but yeah.
Okay, I just saw this, and again, just keep the fans down. Let's not create new fans. Dylan is listening and watching.
Hey, Dylan. Hey, buddy. Yeah. Well, listen, I got to get going here, but I'll also be on Coffee with Dew for 12 hours. Does anybody have any good 4th of July plans? My plans were to hammer the Ellis Park Late Double, which is now off the turf. So that's pretty much it.
Well, what we could do is recap from an hour and a half ago or so what we had. We have
Woodbine race 5, the 2 over the 3-4. Yep.
And I should add the 2, the 3 and the 4 underneath. And then you also have
the Late Belmont pick 3 race 7.
You like the double 6-3 in race 7.
And I like the 1 and the 5 in the final leg there. And
I'm going cold. I'm going to do probably, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see, $100, $50.
I got a bad feeling we're going to be favorite there. I hope not. I hope we get second choice on that 6 to start it off. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get. I don't know.
So yeah, and I'll be at Hawthorne this weekend. I'm excited about that. I'm going to the zoo tomorrow in Milwaukee. And for the 4th of July today, barbecue. My brother's buying a bunch of fireworks.
I'm working. So I'm doing horses, betting and notes and all that. But next Thursday starts racing at Hawthorne. Next week starts Thursday. Our schedule goes to Thursday, Sunday. So
Thursday, Sunday only?
Correct.
Yeah, Thursday, Sunday. And we're doing that to we don't want to compete with Saturday, and we also want to have Fairmont. Fairmont's running or FanDuel, they're running at the same time. So that's to let these jockeys maybe ride over there and ride, because we've missed out on, so like David Cohen, we were supposed to get him on a few mounts, and he had some other engagements out there or some other places, and some other jockeys are riding out there and they're coming back and forth. So it's problematic. So maybe this will help with the jockey colony.
Yeah. I mean, initially we had moved Saturday and Sunday because we were hoping like construction was going to start, but now it's like we're just going to push it back to the end of the meet because it's just too much going on. So that's why we'll take away Saturday and add Thursday. And I think a Thursday will be good as well. Typically Woodbine was running later when Churchill was running on Thursday. They were often running later. So Del Mar and things like that. So yeah, Thursday,
Cool.
Sunday, I think it'll be a good plan for us through the rest of the meet.
And they enter Sunday for Thursday?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Happy
All right,
Independence Day, huh?
Yeah. Happy 4th, everybody. We have 290 people watching. Thanks for joining in. And Justin, if you want to do a show Saturday morning, let me know.
100%, brother. Catch up with you guys soon.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Good
Emily.
to see you.
Yeah, bye, Emily.
Bye, guys.